Well, hello everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com, and today we're going to take a closer look at the Nightmare Layering Stencil from Missing Stamps. This stencil has 6 different layers, and there are lots of different images to choose from, lots of sentiments to choose from, and many things you can do to mix and match and change up the look of your card. One reason I just love this stencil is not only does it create an amazing image at the end, but there are lots of choices. So last year I made a card using multiple options from the stencil, and then I added some glitter bats to the top, and it was really fun. But today I thought I'd do something a little bit different and change up the colors and all of the elements, or at least a few of the elements. I did not clean this off last time, so I'm taking a little time to clean it off prior to stenciling. So I'm going to get started by taping down my panel. We're going to make an A2 card. You could easily make a square card, a 5x5. This is a 6x6 stencil, so you can make any size card that will fit. You could even make this fit on a slimline or a mini slimline card if you wanted to. That is the beauty of having so many different options. So I'm starting out with some Lost Shadow Distress ink for this layer, and I'm actually not doing these layers in order. You don't have to do them in any specific order, really. I forgot to ink that face, so I went back in and added the Lost Shadow to the face. Also, again, that's an option. You don't even have to add that if you don't want to. Now I'm coming in with a dark green Distress ink. This I thought would be fun for a night scene, to have this darker green, but I do end up coming in with a brighter green along the edges a little bit later on. So it will look splotchy for just a moment, but I'm going to add green later on. And I also just brought in some Rustic Wilderness here over the top. And there we go. And now we're going to add in those little pumpkins and the pumpkin faces there on the bottom. I'm going to leave them green just to kind of match and go with that hillside. And so for the faces, I'm bringing in a little bit of that gray ink. And now for the sky, I thought it would be fun to have a purple sky this time instead of blue. And so I'm bringing in a few shades of purple. I just put my magnets down to hold the stencil, but I'm going to lift up that little frame because I don't need the frame for this particular card since I'm doing an A2 size panel on this. So you'll see I'm going to lift that up in just a minute so that I can get all the way to the edge of the card. And so make your stencils work for you. It's just fine. So this is, I believe this is Dusty Concord, if I'm remembering correctly, and then I bring in the Villainous potion around the edges, but I am leaving some white striations around the moon as much as I can there to create kind of a spooky glow. So fun to do, and look how dramatic that looks with the dark purple around the edges. So this is turning out fun. Now let's go in and add a little more shading to the moon. At first I wanted to add a little bit of yellow. Then I decided that was just way too bright. So this yellow wild honey looks like wild honey, but I didn't like it. I didn't want it to be that bright yellow. So I'm bringing in more of the gray to go over the top. So this moon is kind of going to be a muddy gray color, which is fine. It still creates a spooky scene. I am going to add in those little houses at the bottom, and not all of them show up. You can see the tree will get cut off because I did this vertical A2 size, and that's okay. We're just going to add in a portion. I'm going to use the Lost Shadow again for the first part of these little houses at the bottom, and then there's going to be some hills that go behind that. So I'll add the hills in a darker shade. I think I'm going to use black soot for those hills this time. So I'll line that up right like that. And you can see little grave stones there, or grave markers. It's really fun stencil. Really brilliant how she put this all together. And so you see I'm adding in that dark shade there. Now let's choose our image to go on top of this hill. I'm going to choose the 3 little dancing kids here, but you can see you have lots of different options. There is a character with a Christmas tree putting a star on the tree. There are some Halloween images with the faces. There's a little fence, which I think I'm going to add right here. There's bats, which I used on my other card. There's lots of different choices, but look how cute and fun this one looks. And now for a sentiment. There's one that says, "This looks fun," which sounds just like me, but I couldn't resist the sentiment that says, "Every day is Halloween," because it really is feeling Halloween right now already. I'm making so many Halloween cards, and I love this sentiment. So I'm going to use "Every day is Halloween," but I am going to tape off the edge there just in case I get a little too crazy with my ink blending and get some off the edge. That would ruin the whole card. So I used a little bit of low tack tape there and added that sentiment. And now this is where I'm going to add the extra green around the edges of that hill just to brighten it up. So we'll go in with a smaller brush this time, add the edging, and that also will give a little more contrast around that hill. Now to finish off this card, we're going to add some white and black splatters to give it an even spookier vibe. I'm using my white pigment ink here for this one. I ran out of my other white ink that I usually add, so the white pigment ink is going to do the trick today. I'm covering up the images, the little characters, and the sentiment. I don't want to get white on top of that or black, but we'll just add a little bit of water and use a small paintbrush to create that look. Now we'll go do the same thing with some black ink. I actually brought in some mica distress spray and I just tapped some on just like that, but I got a really large drop there on the hill and I didn't love it, but I didn't fix it because here we are all the way at the end of making this card. And so I just went with it. Sometimes you just run with those mistakes. I like to call them happy mistakes, but I really was not happy with that one. But it's okay. It's a Halloween spooky card. So there's a little extra mica spookiness. I'll finish off with the black and then add that to a card base, but I also am going to add a little bit of detail work here with a olive green colored pencil just to brighten up those pumpkins a little bit. I'm going to add a little black to the stems as well. And that's just going to add just some extra detail. Now we'll finish off this card by adding it to the card base. You could add some gems, you could add some other details if you want to, but with all the mica spray and the splatters, I thought it looked just perfect. So there we go, and there's a look at my other card that I made. This was fun to put together. Now imagine all the fun you could have with this and all the different things you could do to change it up. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to come back, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with more card inspiration real soon. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.